especially in the first half of the day. The high reaches 70. Clear out for Thursday and Friday, but a cold front rolls through, so high temps those days only reaching to the mid-50s. Lows into the lower 30s tomorrow and Thursday night. I'm Brian Leonard with your on-point local weather. WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
Ooh, I like when you press that one.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblum, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
All right, welcome in, everybody. Sports Talk here on a Talking Tuesday. Dabo Swinney's still pissed. He's still not happy about what happened Saturday. I don't think he's over it. I think he's, trying to get past it and move on and get ready for the ACC championship game. But he was asked questions. It wasn't like he volunteered. He was asked questions, again, about the South Carolina game, as he was after the game, as he was on Sunday. And, drop passes, overthrown passes, fumbles, breakdown in coverage, mistake here, mistake there. South Carolina playing well, giving them credit, but really pointing more of the finger at his guys for not getting it done. And very, very sour taste in the mouth for Dabo Swinney still, with the loss to South Carolina, even though they're getting ready to play North Carolina on Saturday night in Charlotte in the ACC championship game. Tigers are 7.5-point favorites. And so you'll hear from Dabo Swinney a little bit later tonight, some of his comments about the loss to South Carolina and what's coming up against North Carolina in Charlotte. But, yeah, he's still dealing with the fallout from losing to South Carolina for the first time in 8 years. And if you could not get through last night, I know a bunch of you couldn't. If you could not get through last night, more than happy to take your phone calls tonight. 888-898-2525 is the phone number. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number here on Sports Talk to get you through to us so that you can share your thoughts about what went down this past weekend. And from a Clemson standpoint, of course, we talked a lot about South Carolina last night and the glory that the Gamecocks are reveling in from beating the Tigers and beating Tennessee. Some believe it's a, program changer for the Gamecocks and all of that. Time will tell. Let's see what roster the Gamecocks have next year. It could be a completely different team. But here's a little piece from Swinney today. And, I sat there. It was a 37-minute press conference. A lot of blah, 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 blah in there. But there was one thing he said, 10 seconds out of 37 minutes that caught my attention. And it was about the South Carolina loss. And to me, this speaks volumes about Clemson's approach to the rivalry. Here's Dabo Swinney.
It's always tough when you lose, but, it's not acceptable for us. It's never going to be acceptable for us to lose that game. You got to deal with it, but it's not acceptable.
Not acceptable to us to lose that game. That game. And I think that's a great approach to have to the rivalry. And I got a feeling Shane Beamer feels the same way from a South Carolina standpoint. Now, has South Carolina always felt that way about the rivalry game? Has it been, it's not acceptable to lose that game to South Carolina? Or is it just, hey, it's great to win it every so often. Then if we lose, and there's always next year. Dabo Swinney was pretty clear. Not acceptable to lose that game. I just thought that spoke volumes about his approach and Clemson's approach to the rivalry. Maybe that helps explain why Clemson's won, 30 more games in the rivalry than South Carolina has. Maybe South Carolina just hasn't been as committed to it, as committed to football over, the 100+ years as Clemson has been, as committed to doing whatever it takes to win the rivalry game. But now the question is Dabo Swinney doing enough to maintain the prominence of the Clemson football program? This will be 2 years in a row not making the playoffs. Now, I warned everybody years ago. I said, when a playoff starts, that's all you're going to care about. You're not going to care if you win 8 wins. You're not going to care if you win 9, 10 wins. If you don't make the playoffs, you're viewed as a failure if you're an elite program. That's where Clemson is now. I mean, they've won 10 games, and you would think, just reading some stuff from Clemson fans, hearing them on this show, you would think that the Tigers were 3-9, not 10-2. 10 wins again with a chance for 11 and a chance for 12. But that's not going to be good enough, because in this era of playoff football, for a place like Clemson, Michigan, Ohio State, places like that, and maybe eventually South Carolina, not making the playoff is unacceptable. The bar's been set so high, the standard has been set, the fans have been spoiled, and I'm sure if Ohio State doesn't make the playoff, their people will be reacting the same way. I'm sure there's folks at Notre Dame, of course, they do have a new coach who's kind of starting over, but they're kind of like, why aren't we making the playoffs this year? Why do we have these losses? So that is the fallout from having a playoff system like we have. 10 wins and not making the playoff at places like Clemson, no longer acceptable. Losing to your rival, not acceptable. But that's what drives the program. That's what drives the head coach. But going back to my question, is Dabo Swinney smarter than everybody or dumber than everybody? Is he too arrogant to see the error of his ways, or is he not making errors? And what I'm talking about, of course, while others around him dive into the transfer portal and spend money openly, arrogantly, hand over fist in NIL deals to acquire players, Clemson is going about it a different way, a way that they feel comfortable about. He's still ignoring the transfer portal. He'll give it some lip service, but he has no interest in getting into the transfer portal. They've really only tried. Don't count Hunter Johnson. Okay, that's not transfer portal type talent we're talking about. They tried once last year to get a center, didn't get him, and that was that. He just doesn't have the stomach for it right now. And I think he believes that he and his program are above that, even though others around him are making hay in the transfer portal and helping themselves. Alabama's done it. Georgia has just a little bit. Tennessee, LSU won a national championship with a transfer quarterback. South Carolina making a living off of it. It's legal. It's part of today's game, just like the NIL situation. It's legal. It's part of today's game. But Dabo he doesn't seem interested, especially in the portal part, maybe in the NIL part. Of course, they're going to play the NIL deal, but they're trying to do it, of course, taking a high road and trying to be philanthropic about it rather than being looking like Miami and other schools and just pay for play, trying to avoid that at all costs. But in doing so, are you going to lose players? Is that why Clemson is losing on some top flight players that maybe in the past, when you didn't have all this openly, they might have won those recruiting battles? I mean, yeah, their recruiting is still strong. Don't get me wrong. But is their evaluation still good? I mean, did they misevaluate DJ Uyangalele? Or as I was learning today, Uyangalele. I've not been putting the ooey in there. I've just been going Uyangalele. It's Uyangalele. Did they misevaluate DJU? Cade Klubnik, it's still to be told. The biggest problem for those two guys are Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence. Neither one is Deshaun Watson or Trevor Lawrence. Never have been, never were going to be, and never will be. And Clemson fans, of course, are stuck in the past when it comes to those 6 glorious years with those two quarterbacks. Chris Bergen joining us from Bergie Palace down in Sardis. Pat Daniel here with me as well at our studios here, the Dave & Buster studios in Columbia. 888-898-2525 is the number. All right, Bergie, I've thrown a bunch out there on the plate. What do you think?
It's good stuff. And with regards to, in terms of whether or not Clemson should deal with the transfer portal, the answer is an absolute yes. If you're not going to deal with the transfer portal, you're going to be left behind. There's just no other way around it. You've got to go in and find players who can immediately help your team for a year. It's rent a player. There's no question about that. But they've got to find a way, and I don't know if that's necessarily at the quarterback position, because if they've recruited all that well, from what we understand, they should be fine at the QB position. But on down the road, how about a wide receiver? Is there not anybody out there right now that would love to transfer to Clemson playing at the wide receiving core that's better than what they have, with the exception of Antonio Williams?
Yeah, I find that hard to believe that Clemson finds itself in this situation at wide receiver. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, again, you're talking about guys who were, I don't know, 4-star, 5-star guys. I mean, they came in with all the potential in the world, and they played well earlier in their careers. Ngata, E.J. Williams, they have obviously regressed, maybe because of injuries, maybe because of coaching. I don't know. Antonio Williams was certainly a breath of fresh air for them. It showed a lot of promise, but he's still a freshman. He still has ways to go and ways to develop. I mean, their tight ends became their greatest receiving threats down the field. I don't think that's how Clemson's offense is being built, or is supposed to be built. And, of course, then the running game remains very strong, as they showed against South Carolina. They got off track in the fourth quarter for whatever reason, with Brandon Streeter calling the plays, and went to their passing game, which had been horrid, and just gave up, forgot about the running game. Kind of reminds me of South Carolina and Missouri, when you had Jaheim Bell and he never touched the football.
Yeah. And
it was mind-boggling. Well, I'm sure Clemson fans are like, what are you doing? I guess they were, mind-boggled over what they saw in the fourth quarter.
And absolutely understandable, because I mentioned going into the ball game, you're looking at a defense in South Carolina that was ranked towards the back half of the FBS against run defense. They're going to face a similarly bad defense against the run this coming weekend. And if they run out the same game plan, and if they want DJ Uyangalele to try and beat Drake May, they're probably going to lose that football game on Saturday as well. Your best players are in your backfield, and it's not your quarterback. Your best players are your running backs in that backfield and your defensive front line, even though they did not do as well as I think Clemson fans would have hoped against South Carolina. But they've got to run the football and run it with conviction, and they've got to continue to run the football and get stubborn at running the football. You're not going to win a Heisman Trophy with DJ. Don't even try to put him up there. Just run the ball this weekend, and they'll be fine. But the problem they ran into is they tried to get cute offensively and throw it too much, and in the second half, and especially in the fourth quarter, 13 yards of passing offense against South Carolina was unnecessary. Just run the ball, set up your offense to get an opportunity to kick a field goal and perhaps win that ball game. But instead, here we are with an offense that is getting questioned because their quarterback is not Trevor Lawrence. Their quarterback is not Deshaun Watson. And their quarterback will never be whomever they bring in moving forward. Cade Klubnik, Christopher Vizina, whomever else they move forward will never be Deshaun Watson, will never be Trevor Lawrence. They got two quarterbacks back-to-back that are generational quarterbacks that no program has ever been able to get them on a consistent basis back-to-back. your best players now are not your quarterback on offense. It's your running game. Utilize that on Saturday against North Carolina. Or, Phil, we may be sitting here next Tuesday chatting about what in the world is Clemson doing offensively? How in the world did they lose to both South Carolina and North Carolina when they've got a much better run game than they're utilizing?
Yeah. Yet, and you'll hear this tonight from Sweeney, when asked about how do you do better in the passing game, his very quick response was catch the football. I mean, he put the blame more on the receivers than any other place. He said catch the football. Now he did say that there were some missed targets, there were some overthrows, but he cited several examples where they had drops. He said there was one play where Brenning Stool was open and couldn't get the ball to him. I think the rush got to the quarterback, couldn't get the ball to him. Cited several different reasons that the passing game did not work, except that the quarterback was off target more often than it was on target. That never was really mentioned. So you hear that coming up here when we get to the piece here with Sweeney. All right, so we got all that to talk about. And South Carolina kind of kicking back and relaxing. And Shane Beamer's not going to hire a coordinator until after the bowl game. Talked to Dante Reno last night, the 24 quarterback commitment. We'll give you details on that conversation coming up. But part of what he told us was, and he had been in conversation with Beamer last night, that they're going to go with a committee, offensive planning and play calling by committee. I mean, I'm sure one person will emerge to call the plays. But as far as coaching up the offense, he said it'll be a group effort. And then after the bowl game, he'll get around to hiring his next offensive coordinator, which probably means a lot of the people he's interested in are going to be tied up with their team through the bowl season. So he wants to wait until that's over so he can get the guy that he wants.
Is there somebody on staff that might actually qualify for that? Somebody he wants and wants to see how they might work through the bowl game?
Well, the only one I could think of, first comes to mind with me was Freddie Kitchens.
Exactly.
But maybe, I don't know, is Justin Stepp qualified to be an offensive coordinator and call plays? I don't know. Maybe he thinks he does.
Was Dabo Sweeney qualified to take over as head coach at Clemson?
Yeah, really. I mean, what's qualified until you put them out there and you see what they can do, All right, so we got that for you. And your phone calls. 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number here on Sports Talk. Why don't we go ahead and take phone calls, Pat? Is that okay with you? Yeah, we'll take some phone calls and let's see what else we got. That's it. Phone calls and some Dabo Sweeney coming your way. And I'll tell you that our lottery lucky number 888-898-2525, and since 2002, more than $2.2 billion in lottery proceeds have been used to fund life scholarships for the state's college-bound students. Learn more about the lottery's impact at sceducationlottery.com/educationwins. Playing for fun's a win for education. We come to you from the Dave & Buster's studios. Eat, drink, play, catch the big games all season long. Dave & Buster's in Greenville, Columbia, Myrtle Beach. So the United States soccer team, I'll just mention this. United States soccer team won today. They advanced to the knockout round. And as I was eating, I stopped at a place in Easley to have lunch. And they had a soccer game up there on the screen, and I'll just say it's boring as hell. That's all I'm going to say about it. It's boring as hell. Well, they didn't have the American game up there. They had somebody else.
Well, what time did you swing by? You didn't play until 2:00.
Yeah, it was during that time. The screen I was watching, do they have multiple games going, I guess, at the same time?
I can't imagine Fox would run anything up against the United States men's national team.
That's boring as hell. Boring. What was the final score for the Americans?
1-0.
Oh, that's exciting.
It was a good win.
Exciting.
Had to advance.
You know what I also did? I painted a wall and I watched it dry. And that was more exciting than watching the soccer game. To Joel in Florence.
You had to throw that out there just to upset the soccer fans right now because.
All right, look, I like women's basketball. I like USC women's basketball. Is that not enough? I got to like soccer. I got to be forced to like soccer, too.
That's a big
I've
story
come around on women's basketball a little bit.
Does Aaliyah Boston play tonight against UCLA?
I know.
That's a huge story.
Absolutely.
We have to touch on this week.
2 top 15. Well, we've been a little busy. 2 top 15 teams.
too busy to chat about the number one
What
team
you
in the
got,
country?
Pat? I know you're a soccer nut.
No, I was just going to play into the joke here. We tried to bring it up last night, but was given the Heisman, the stop signal on the Aaliyah Boston update. As of last
The
night,
best player on the best team in the country, and we have yet to discuss whether or not she's going to be available tonight to face number 15 in the nation. It's a big deal.
All right, let's go to the phones. See if anybody asked about it. Joel in Florence, welcome into Sports Talk. Talking Tuesday. You're talking. We're listening. Go ahead.
Hey, Phil. I just want to start off by saying it was really great to see you at Rivals last Wednesday morning.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, great show that you and the Bad Boy and Ken Ard and Bobby Stew. And it was really good to see you, but you should have went and played in the golf tournament afterwards, the Carolina Clemson golf tournament. We had a great time.
I wasn't invited.
You weren't invited.
I wasn't invited. I guess I don't qualify.
Wow.
I wasn't invited. I'm saying it flat out. Smothers,
Slap in the
Schuster,
face. What are we doing over
Ard,
here?
none of them invited. Nobody told me about it. They just said, I only go to eat the Krispy Kreme donuts anyway. That's the only reason I go, is that they supply you with enough Krispy Kreme donuts to turn your blood into pure cane sugar. And so I just, that's the only reason I go.
Well, I'll make you a promise right now. Next year, I'll save you a spot on my team.
I'd love that. Y'all played the Country Club of South Carolina, and I wasn't invited.
And the course, and I'm not trying to make you jealous, but the course was in immaculate shape. Ryan Bell did a great job. Kirby Anderson, who hosted the tournament, Raldex Hospitality did a great job. It was a great charity. It was fun to all. Next year, you will have a spot, I promise.
I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, and the reason I called, and y'all touched on it earlier, about staying in-house with the offensive coordinator job at South Carolina. And I'm hearing rumors that Freddie Kitchens has been calling the plays the last two games. Whether or not that's true or not, I have no idea. But if it is true, that's who I'd hire.
Well, if that's true, which I don't believe it, I mean, I'm sure he's had input. But if that's true, yeah, you give the guy a 3-year contract at $1 million, and you say, Freddie, you're in the kitchen. It's all yours.
Nice.
You like that? In the kitchen?
I do like that.
Yeah, that's also a phrase. And thank you very much. That's in pickleball. You ever play pickleball? Pat, you ever play pickleball? Yeah. In the kitchen, that's that part of the court right around the net area that you can't step in. Do you know the rules of pickleball?
You know pickleball.
I've played pickleball.
You don't want to talk about the United States national soccer team in the World Cup or women's basketball with the number one team in the country, but you want to talk about pickleball.
I know pickleball.
It's right up his alley, though. It's a combination of tennis, badminton, and
ping pong.
Lazy.
By the way, Leah Boston is on the court, going through warm-ups, no boot, dressed to play, game time decision. So there you go. We go to, do we have any funeral music we can play? Tiger Bryan in Lancaster. This could be a little sad. Tiger Bryan, how are you?
Man, I'm doing great, man. I'm sitting up here looking at this beautiful Lake Greenwood.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
Cover the pain.
Yeah.
I know. Cover the pain.
It's not no pain. You know what? People say this. You know what? I want to say this. All my Gamecock friends and family has been very gracious. Because you know what they told me? Listen, they said we gave them the game. Really? I mean, but, I'll take 7 out of 8 years beating the Gamecock any time of the day. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And, everybody's, but DJ ain't no quarterback for us. And like you said, we've been spoiled with Deshaun Watson. We've been spoiled with Lawrence. Like you said, you called a nail on the head a while ago. I mean, and you was at Easley today. You should have come on by. I was cooking filet mignons for supper tonight.
Where at?
At Lake Greenwood State Park, right here on the water. Where I'm catching catfish. I'm up here camping,
Oh, you're still on vacation?
Yeah. I left Sunday after the game, and I'll be here till Friday.
Oh, man.
But you know what I got to say? If South Carolina needs offensive coordinator, I think we got one, Brandon Streeter. Hey, baby, they get him for cheap.
Now,
yeah.
now you're that's one of your own. That's one of your
I don't
homegrown.
care. Hey, if you can't tote the pail, yeah, you can't tote the mail, brother.
Oh my!
But hey, other than that, yeah, I thought it was a real good game. We had fun with that at the end. BT would have went down there. Yeah, we went down there. BT, if a frog didn't have.
I know. And we got to go to the break. You keep catching fish, and we'll be back.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Cloudy skies with the low dipping to 53. Tomorrow, scattered showers, especially in the first half of the day. The high reaches 70. Clear out for Thursday and Friday, but a cold front rolls through, so high temps those days only reaching to the mid-50s. Lows into the lower 30s tomorrow and Thursday night. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
Are you looking for free checking and free savings? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank that's so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg says war-torn Ukraine will someday become a member of the world's largest security alliance. It's a commitment that NATO leaders made to Ukraine 14 years ago, but some say it led in part to Russia's invasion. Stoltenberg's remarks came as Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and his NATO counterparts gathered Tuesday in Romania to drum up urgently needed support for Ukraine, including deliveries of electrical components for its devastated electricity network. Ukraine's grid has been battered since early October by targeted Russian strikes. President Biden is asking Congress to intervene to avert a potentially crippling freight rail strike before Christmas, even if it means handing a defeat to Democratic allies in the labor movement. On Wall Street, the Dow by 3 points. More details at srnnews.com.
Hey, it's the Cigar Militia. We want to thank the Midlands for a wonderful first year. Thank you for helping us grow. We had no idea we had so many good friends out there. One thing I love about the cigar culture is we all have our favorite brands, but we're also willing to try new ones too. Come in and get your old standby or have one of our knowledgeable staff members walk you through the humidor to your new favorite. We're at 1410 Colonial Life Boulevard in the same plaza as the Melting Pot Restaurant.
Jingle bells, shotgun shells. Your Christmas should always start at Shooter's Choice. Hey, I know you're wanting that new gun for Christmas. Time to get shopping for it right now at Shooter's Choice on Sunset Boulevard in West Columbia. Are you looking for a Benelli, Browning, Henry, Glock, Sig, Springfield, or Ruger, or maybe some other popular brand? Let the experienced staff at Shooter's Choice help you make the right decision for your perfect holiday gift. If it's hunting or personal concealed carry, or just that new gun you've been waiting for, with Shooter's Choice holiday season promotions, they've got you covered. In stock, on the shelf, ready for you to check out. Not catalog pictures or internet photos. You have the real deal to hold and compare. And if you're not sure what you may need for that special someone, make it simple with a gift card. You can't go wrong with that. So do your shopping locally at Shooter's Choice on Sunset Boulevard in West Columbia, or shop online at shooterschoicesc.com. Make your first choice, your best choice. Make it Shooter's Choice.
Attention listeners, con artists have many tricks for stealing your money, but the AARP Fraud Watch Network is here to help you protect yourself and your family. We give you the tools you need to spot and avoid scams. So listen for the AARP Fraud Watch Network alerts. Use our scam tracking map to see the latest scams and sign up for prevention tips and alerts from law enforcement. To learn how to outsmart con artists before they strike, visit aarp.org/Fraud Watch Network. It's November, time for us to get thankful. And nobody would be more thankful than a dog or cat you adopt from Columbia Animal Services. Time to add a fur baby to your family. Enjoy the turkey, the cooler temps, and the football, and give a puppy or a kitty cat a new home. The Thankful for Home Adoption special lets you get your new dog or cat from the 21st through the end of the month for just $20. Visit petfinder.com and make your selection. That's petfinder.com. And thanks.
Hi, honey. How was your first day back at work?
Well, that slip and fall sure did cause me some pain and discomfort. This swollen ankle is no fun. Thanks to True Pharmacy, the day wasn't a complete waste.
I'm so glad they were able to get you all set up with your ACE bandage wrap and even a set of crutches.
Yes, who knew you could rent your crutches from True Pharmacy?
And they even have wheelchairs to rent and sell. That's good information to know in case we ever need it for our parents as they get older.
I'm so glad we found True Pharmacy. True Pharmacy, 2 locations, West Columbia and Divine Street.
Couple of quick things, and back to your phone calls here on Sports Talk. 888-898-2525 is the phone number. And the All-ACC team announced I guess it was announced this afternoon. Of course, they have to do it to fit the schedule of the ACC network, but nobody watches. 4 Clemson players collected a total of 6 first-team selections. Jordan McFadden, offensive tackle, defensive end Miles Murphy, defensive tackle Tyler Davis, and Will Shipley, who first team running back, all-purpose and specialist positions. First player in conference history to earn first team at 3 positions. And Clemson placed 3 players each on the second and third teams. Second team nods defensive end KJ Henry, defensive tackles Brian Bresee, and place kicker BJ Potter. That should be defensive tackle singular. Place kicker BJ Potter. And then tight end Davis Allen, center Will Putnam, and linebacker Trenton Simpson. They were named to the third team.
Jeremiah Trotter didn't make one of those teams?
If I didn't say his name, he didn't make it.
Wow.
Yeah. If I didn't say it, he didn't make it. Now they'll be announcing the individual awards like Player of the Year, Coach of the Year, and all that. They'll do that tomorrow. And they announced the finalists for the Ray Guy Award today, and Kai Kroger of South Carolina did not make the final 3.
That's an absolute disgrace that he's not a Ray Guy finalist. What else do you have to do? Led the SEC second in the NCAA in punting yardage. Plus, he's got to be the best passing punter in the country. I mean, how do you leave him off? He single-handedly may have won the game for South Carolina by pinning the Tigers deep in their territory time and time again, especially in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. It's hard to figure. I mean, I haven't looked at the numbers of the 3 guys who made it, but maybe they were extra special as well. I don't know how they could be any more special than Kai Kroger. We've got the new ranking coming out tonight, College Football Playoff Committee ranking. I imagine top 4. Well, no, take that back. What am I thinking? Ohio State will drop out. Southern Cal will probably move up.
Yeah.
So you'll have Georgia in some order or another. You'll have Georgia, Michigan, Southern Cal, TCU in there, and then we'll see who's sitting there at 6 and 7, waiting for something to happen. What if, I'm kind of hoping Alabama's sitting there 5, 6, 7, somewhere in there, and they're just waiting. Yeah, and then they're just waiting for TCU to lose, or maybe Southern Cal to lose in their league championship game, so they can grab up Alabama, which would make the playoff an extremely. That would be the biggest insult of all time. A 2-loss team that didn't win their division getting into the playoffs.
Brings up an interesting point, doesn't it? Because let's assume for a moment the 4 that you mentioned are the top 4, and they all win this coming weekend. So those are the 4 that go into the playoffs. Georgia, TCU, and Southern Cal, Michigan in your semis. And so Michigan, Southern Cal against Georgia is your final, or do you want Georgia, Southern California as your semi?
Yeah.
Michigan, TCU, a game that no one will watch because I'm not sure anybody's all that excited about those 2. But you might get Michigan and Georgia or either Southern California in your final.
Well,
how do they maneuver things to set that up? Because let's face it, we know that's the case.
I'll disagree with you a little bit. I mean, Southern Cal, if they make it, it's going to bring a huge TV. I would think bring a huge TV audience with the West Coast and LA and all that. And plus, it's a national name. It's a national brand. They got fans all over the country. But that brings in LA and the West Coast. Michigan's going to bring in the Midwest and all the television, all the eyes of the Midwest with their strong following and another national brand.
So does SC leapfrog TCU to get to third to back up what you just said, so that they face Michigan in the semis. So you've got this gigantic national brand versus national brand in the semis.
Part of the appeal of that would be an old Rose Bowl, even though it's not in the Rose Bowl. It'd be like an old Rose Bowl matchup, which I think they'd have a great deal of fun with. Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think you might see if it stays like it is, and the committee is thinking about not who are the 4 best teams 1 through 4, but from a television standpoint, what's going to be the best matchup, once they let ESPN stick their nose in there. Of course, what am I saying? ESPN owns it.
That's
I'm
why
sorry.
I think you'll see
they'll
SC
be
is
sticking
number
their
3.
nose in ESPN's business. I'm looking at this totally ass backwards. Yeah,
that's why
they're sticking their nose in ESPN's business.
SC will be number 3 tonight, I think, because of that. Because if they all win next weekend or this weekend in their championship games, how can you maneuver them at that point in time?
Yeah,
you've got to maneuver. You've got to move them now.
That's an excellent point. Back to your phone calls, 888-898-2525. It's Hank in Columbia with us next. Hank, welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Corn. I'm calling in. Hopefully, y'all gonna have Ellis and Chuck on this week
tomorrow night, 6:35. Yes, sir.
I'm really interested in hearing them because I keep on hearing these folks say, "Well, all Clemson needs to do win it was run it in the second half." But if I don't buy into it, being at the game, if you look at their big runs, the big runs came in that first quarter, and maybe the first minute or 2 of the second quarter. And then after then, they were still running it. They just weren't breaking off those long runs. And so when they got into the second half, I think they wanted to run, but they kept on getting behind the chains. They called a run play, or these sweeps, the Ungale and whoever, and then they would get stopped in the backfield, and then they were staring at 2nd and 9, or they'd have a penalty of staring at 2nd and 13. So at some point, they were going to have to complete passes, and that's been a weakness. It's easy when you're playing from in front to complete those passes, and it's easy if you remember when they beat us 45-0 to 35-0 last year. When they got in the second half, they kept on giving it to Shipley and running it on out because we weren't putting anything on the board to chase them. I think they got scared because if you look at after the pick 6 and the safety, they had to work their way down the field. Whereas just a follow up to the Tennessee game, a lot of times Carolina was hitting haymakers. I mean, as soon as they went up 30-21, they were all celebrating. It wasn't 2 plays later. They hit Juice Wells for that 72-yarder. But even when Carolina was hitting plays on drives that took more than a play, they were always hitting big haymakers. And I think they became scared that they were going to have to score, and that's been a problem. I don't think they could just hand it to them and just run because Carolina started stuffing them on the run.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they made adjustments on defense. Uiagalelei broke off that run on the first play of the game. Remember that? And I thought to myself, here you go. And, of course, Clemson got out to the 14-0 lead. But I thought as the game went on, Clayton White and his defensive staff, they made some adjustments to prevent that from happening, trying to keep him, I think, contained within the hash marks there and get their hands on him. They got a lot of hands on him. They hit him a good bit in that second half, and I think that was important. I think they kind of took the running threat of the quarterback kind of away from Clemson in the second half and made him more of a thrower, which was, I think, their goal all along. You talk about first down plays. I'm just looking here. Tigers had 26 snaps on first down, and 17 of those were runs for 85 yards, and 8 of those were passes. They completed 2 of 8 passing on first down for 13 yards.
Yeah, and if you think about it, a number that just kind of like when you said something the other night about Bo Collins, that long pass play that Bo Collins hit, and if you took that away, you looked at the rest of the passing game and it wasn't going well. They hit a lot of their big runs early. I think in the second half, Shipley had one that was from 11 or 12 yards out where he broke through and got in the end zone. But other than that, a lot of their big runs, their big long runs, those happened in the first half. And I think in the second half, when they would if they only got 2 or 3 on the run, or either they ran laterally and got stopped behind the line, then they were forced into passing. And then I think it was nothing about they could just hand it to somebody and just run the whole second half, because Carolina put those corners out there on the island, and they stacked that box.
Well, here are 2 other, and you're right, here are 2 other very interesting stats. And thank you for the phone call, Hank. I know you're going in there to cheer for the USC women. I'll be there in the second half if you want to buy me a Coke. Percentage of plays, what's called the field position rate. The percentage of plays, this is interesting, Chris and Pat, or I wouldn't bring it up. Percentage of plays run from the opponent's side of the field. Okay? What would be your guess on South Carolina's percentage and Clemson's percentage?
Well, first off, here's the Kai Kroger stats that should have also gotten him into the Ray Guy finalist award. My guess is in the second half in particular, Clemson ran pretty much the majority of its plays starting on their own end of the field.
Yeah. Well, you're not going to answer my question. My question was, I'll go ahead and answer it myself. Clemson ran 18% of their plays on USC's side of the field.
Yeah.
That's not very many.
72% on their side. Yep.
USC ran 41% of their plays on Clemson's side of the field. And then here's a very telling stat, and it goes back to what Hank was saying. The percentage of runs that were stopped for no gain or a loss. The number of runs stopped for no gain or a loss. So South Carolina, let's see, runs stuff, rushes it. Oh, you know what? Forget that. I got it backwards. I thought that was a defensive stat. It's an offensive stat. South Carolina had 11 runs that were stuffed for no gains. Clemson had 2.
Yeah.
So that doesn't fit the narrative there. So forget that.
And I'm not trying to dispute what
you know what? I
Hank
should
said.
never get into analytics. It's way over my head.
I'm not trying to dispute what Hank said, but I will. And this is not a knock on South Carolina's defense, because I thought in the second half they were terrific. But here's Clemson's drives in the fourth quarter. They ran it on their first drive after the field goal for 3 yards, back-to-back incompleted passes, punt. They got it back. They run Will Shipley for 7 yards. They get the face mask penalty, which is 15. They move it out to the 24. Uyunglele misses badly and throws it right to Marcus Dial over his shoulder at midfield. They get it back. They run it for 2. Then short pass, incompletion, incomplete. So don't tell me they tried to, they couldn't run it. They didn't try to run it, especially in the fourth quarter. Now, again, some of that you would think was field position. So if you're backed up, why not try and run it off your goal line? So, but again, props to South Carolina, because they won that football game. And I'm not trying to take anything away from what USC did, but Clemson didn't help them out a good bit, I thought, by putting way too much of the weight on that ball game on their quarterback when it was unnecessary.
All right, back to the phones, 888-898-2525. We go to Ronnie in West Columbia. Hello, Ronnie. Welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
Good evening. How's everybody doing?
Good, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I wanted to call in and address something that you kind of opened up with and alluded to, sort of the overall viability of the Clemson program and kind of the global, approach to whether or not they're going to stay an elite program, if I may.
Sure.
I think, this is my opinion, of course. I'm a Clemson graduate, as you know. I don't call in all that often, but y'all remember me, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Sweeney has won 2 national titles, so it's kind of presumptuous of me to question the man regardless, and I understand that. But just as an observer on the outside looking in, I think his stubbornness is getting in his way at this point. And Sweeney, for example, he got T. Higgins and he got Mike Williams. These guys were amazing receivers. They could jump up 6'4", jump up in the air with those long arms, snag any ball that they wanted to. It didn't matter who was throwing it. Me and you could have been out there throwing the ball, and they would have caught it, if we'd have gotten it in the same zip code. Those guys, kind of like Lawrence and Watson, are generational quarterbacks. Those guys are kind of generational receivers, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And he has gotten into this stubborn mold of only recruiting those kinds of receivers. Bo Collins, Justin Ross, E.J. Williams, Joseph Ngata, all 6'3+, rangy, giraffe-like guys that have no speed, and they're not going to do any good for you if they don't have amazing, amazing ball skills, hands. And these guys just haven't panned out in that regard. Antonio Williams was his second choice. I'm sure you remember that, being a recruiting guy you are. He was a second choice after somebody else backed out, who was a 6'4", rangy hands guy. Antonio Williams has what all those other guys don't have, and that's speed. Sweeney will not go out and recruit speed at wide receiver. Antonio Williams can run away from people. And if we had a quarterback that could get the ball to his receiver accurately and consistently, Antonio Williams would have more than 1,000 yards this year. The other point I'd make is that he, other than quarterback, every position on the field is done by committee. Sweeney talks about how he doesn't want to wear people out on a long season. Well, these guys are going to the NFL where there's, 60 people on the entire roster, and they play twice as many games. These guys are going to have to be on the field for 60 minutes, and they better learn how to do it now. And this idea of rotating 8 guys at defensive tackle and defensive end, 3 guys plus at running back when you've got one guy that is a star. I like Phil Maffa, but Shipley is the man. He touched the ball 15 times at running back in that game against Carolina. And if he had touched the ball 30 times, he'd have had 250 yards, and we probably would have won the ball game, just like y'all alluded to. But Sweeney will not do it. He will not name starters. Everybody on his depth chart is each position is a this guy or this guy. Backup is this guy or this guy or this guy. He will not name 1, 2, 3. He will not name starters. He stubbornly does this. And you can't get into a flow in a game. A team cannot become a cohesive unit when you've got guys coming in and out, in and out, in and out. I understand you got to put people in when they need a breather. But if somebody's doing well in a ball game, even the announcers on ESPN and on the networks are starting to say, where's Shipley? Why is he not on that field? These things are stubborn to me that I think he needs to sit down and kind of come to terms with himself and maybe move off of these ideas and these philosophies. That's my comments for tonight.
Excellent points. Thank you very much. We appreciate your phone call. Excellent points. We got to hit the break, and we'll come back and take more calls and talk more about what he just had to say. Made some very good points. I mean, I believe in believing in what you believe and standing by what you believe. I think that's very, very important in doing anything that you do. But you also got to be smart and roll with the times too, right? And if Dabo can keep Clemson winning at a high level, how he's doing it, high level meaning for them playoffs, then he'll be smarter than the rest of us. Be back in a moment.
Join the Trailblaze Challenge, the endurance hike program where big hearts come together for big steps to create hope for local Wish families through Make-A-Wish, South Carolina. This spring, take part in a new journey on the Palmetto Trail. From sunrise on the highest peak in South Carolina to the coastal marshes of the Lowcountry, hikers of all levels can support critically ill children, enjoy and explore the outdoors, and build South Carolina pride and community through an all-inclusive hike experience. Visit sctrailblazechallenge.org to learn how to get started. That's sctrailblazechallenge.org.
Touchstone Energy Cooperative members save more on electricity, and members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through Co-op Connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives, and as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
In Columbia, South Carolina, game days are our specialty. Whether you're watching the game from inside the stadium or from the big screen at your favorite local spot, the energy remains the same. Craft the perfect fall Saturday in a city where there is plenty of action on and off the field. From tubing and kayaking to Soda City to rooftop restaurants and plenty barbecue. We're ready when you are. Plan your weekend at ExperienceColumbiaSC.com.
Hope, life, and the Great Palmetto. What do these things have in common? Scholarship dollars. The SC Hope, the Life, and the Palmetto Fellow Scholarships are funded by the lottery players of this great state. And after 20 years, you've invested over $7 billion in education. $7 billion. Impressive. The South Carolina Education Lottery. When you play, we all win.
I thought Ronnie made some great points, well thought out from a Clemson fan standpoint, passionate, concerned, thinking about things up there. I can't argue with anything that he had to say. So,
and not over the top. I mean,
no,
the points he brought up were valid.
Absolutely.
Concerns. Yeah.
By the way, do you know the Clemson basketball team is playing tonight?
Yes, sir. ACC Big Ten Challenge. You know, which is going away. Right?
It is.
Aren't they transitioning over to the
SEC.
SEC Challenge?
SEC. You
Smart
know what?
Not to pick up the Big 12.
Yeah,
Challenge.
but what they should do now is just make South Carolina Clemson a permanent game in that challenge, and then you'll have it at a good time on national television. Just make them the permanent. Make that the. I wonder if they're going to do that with the rivals between. You've got natural rivals between the two leagues.
Yeah.
You could do South Carolina Clemson, Georgia Georgia Tech, Florida State.
Louisville, Kentucky, which would be
Louisville, Kentucky.
Normally,
that's 4 right
Louisville's
there.
So bad,
and just have it on one night and call it rivalry night. You see, ESPN, you hear me?
I like it, Phil.
Do you hear me? I am the ambassador of ideas.
Of course not. They don't listen to you.
No, they don't.
You generate zero money for them, and that's all ESPN's about is revenue.
Well, nothing wrong with that. That's kind of what I'm about too. Now, I used to be about spending it. Now I'm about trying to make it and save it.
But the difference between us here at Sports Talk and ESPN, we don't necessarily generate stuff and set up stuff just to generate revenue.
No, and we don't make $5 billion a year either
that too.
From our various sources. We continue, but we do have expensive people on our payroll, like Pat, for example. We go to
penny.
Yes, he is. Don't let him know that though. He'll ask for more.
Sorry,
Kevin in Easley. Welcome in, Kevin. How are you?
Doing good. I wanted to go back to something I think it was Tiger Phil said. I've been hearing it on Upstate Radio the past few days.
It's Tiger Bryant. It's Tiger Bryant.
Tiger Bryant. Yeah, sorry. And it's been steady on Upstate Radio the past 2 days. The Clemson gave the game away. I just kind of want to go through that real quick.
Okay.
You had Darius Rush drop what should have been a pick six early. You had if Juju McDowell is an inch taller, he scores a touchdown that they never got on the board. You had a backwards pass that should have been a scoop and score for Carolina.
True.
Everybody in the world knew that was a backwards pass. And then if you go back and look, Clemson's last touchdown was an illegal formation. There's a reason Dabo was trying to run down the sideline and get a timeout before the play, but the refs missed it. The Shipley run from like the 10 or 12.
Yeah, what was the formation?
I just think it should. They had five guys in the backfield. There's only one receiver on the line of scrimmage.
No. You caught that, Chris?
I did not, but I have seen, much like our callers pointing out, I've actually seen that pointed out on replay.
All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just think honestly, I think Carolina should have won by 10 to 14 points. And that's pretty impressive considering they were in a 14-point hole. I mean, they were the more physical team, and they had no answer for juice. None.
Yeah, and also, I mean, just to throw this in there too, not that you can't take it away because it happened, but Clemson did get 9 points off of their pick six and the safety.
Yeah,
the South Carolina. You can't take those away because those are plays that did happen that Clemson caused those plays. But I hear what you're saying about those other plays, and I think you're exactly right. South Carolina makes those plays, then they might win this thing. Kind of going away versus having to sweat it out there to the very end.
Yeah, which is because for the past 7 years, Carolina has not been the physical team, and they definitely were Saturday.
Yes, they were. They held their own against Clemson, that's for sure. Unlike previous years where they kind of withered away, they stuck in there with them. All right, thank you very much. Appreciate the phone call, and I don't want to start one and have to squeeze it. Pat, do you have something to say there about anything? I saw you kind of shaking your head, or Just got some indigestion, or
No, I think I was reading something. Else.
I mean, if you had something to say, I mean, you got 30 seconds.
We're in a tight space, Corn. If I had indigestion, you'd know about it, buddy.
All right.
That would be great for that Pepto-Bismol commercial too.
Yes.
About upset stomach and what else?
In
So,
tight
yeah,
quarters.
Great. Yes.
Okay, we'll continue with phone calls in hour number 2. If you haven't gotten through, at least on the air, hang on. We'll get to you. One line's open if you want to grab it. Recruiting news coming up. Comments from Dabo Sweeney from today, looking back at South Carolina some more, looking ahead to North Carolina. All that's coming up.
By the way, before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken met with NATO foreign ministers in Romania to drum up support for Ukraine as Russia bombards energy infrastructure going into the frigid winter. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg.
Russia is using brutal missile and drone attacks to leave Ukraine cold and dark this winter. President Putin is trying to weaponize winter, to force Ukrainians to freeze or flee.
The Supreme Court on Tuesday wrestled with a dispute over a Biden administration policy that prioritizes deportation of people in the country illegally who pose the greatest public safety risk. Chief Justice John Roberts tells Solicitor General Elizabeth Prelogar the interpretation of federal law requiring the removal of all illegal immigrants.
I think anyway, shall means shall. What do we do in that situation?
If this court were to actually adopt that interpretation of the statute, then I think that it would be incredibly destabilizing on the ground.
Yeah, I didn't ask you what it would be. I want you to know what we should do. Should we still fulfill our responsibility to say what the law is? And then it's up to Congress and the executive to figure out a way to comply with that.
At the center of the case is a September 2021 directive from the Department of Homeland Security that paused deportations unless individuals had committed acts of terrorism, espionage, or egregious threats to public safety. The Senate has passed legislation enshrining same-sex marriage into law and repealing the Defense of Marriage Act. It ensures the federal government recognizes a same-sex marriage even if a couple moves to a state where same-sex marriage is not recognized. In a 61 to 36 vote, 12 Republicans joined all Democrats in approving the bill. The measure now goes back to the House. More on these stories at townhall.com.
You've got advanced prostate cancer, but you're not waiting around. You want straight talk, the facts about Orgovix.
Orgovix Relagolix 120 milligram prescription tablets is a treatment for adults with advanced prostate cancer. Fact: Orgovix is a different kind of androgen deprivation therapy treatment, a pill, not an injection. Orgovix may cause serious side effects, including a heart condition called QT prolongation. Tell your doctor right away if you feel dizzy, faint, have a racing or pounding heart, or chest pain. Orgovix can cause harm to an unborn baby or miscarriage. Use birth control during treatment and for 2 weeks after Orgovix treatment. The most common side effects include hot flushes, increased blood sugar and blood fat levels, muscle and joint pain, decreased blood hemoglobin levels, increased liver enzymes, tiredness, constipation, and diarrhea. Other side effects include weight gain, decreased sex drive, and erectile function problems. Orgovix may cause infertility. Talk to your doctor if infertility is a concern for you.
Go with Orgovix. Ask your doctor. For more facts, visit gowiththefacts.com.
Millions have taken part in the virtual post-Thanksgiving weekend hunt for holiday deals, as we hear from correspondent Norman Hall.
Days after flocking to stores on Black Friday, consumers went online on Cyber Monday to score some more discounts on gifts and other items that have ballooned in price because of high inflation. Cyber Monday was expected to remain the year's biggest online shopping day and rake in up to $11.6 billion in sales. That's according to Adobe Analytics, which tracks transactions at over 85 of the top 100 U.S. online stores. That forecast was a jump from $10.7 billion consumers spent last year. According to Adobe, shoppers spent a record $9.12 billion online on Black Friday. That's up 2.3% from last year. I'm Norman Hall.
U.S. consumer confidence fell for the second straight month in November amid ongoing high inflation and rising interest rates. News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Cloudy skies with the low dipping to 53. Tomorrow, scattered showers, especially in the first half of the day. The high reaches 70. Clear out for Thursday and Friday, but a cold front rolls through, so high temps those days only reaching to the mid-50s. Lows into the lower 30s tomorrow and Thursday night. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather. WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point. Ooh, you shouldn't have pressed that button. Oh. Now you get this.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
All right, underway up at Little John Coliseum, ACC Big Ten Challenge. And P.J. Hall's in the starting lineup for the first time this season for the Tigers. They trail 8-3 to the Nittany Lions, 16:39 to play in the opening half. Penn State's got a pretty good club.
Yes.
They have got a guy named Cameron Winter, a guard, and he's 2 for 2 from 3. He's got 6 points to lead them in scoring at this point. And Clemson is being led so far by Galloway, who's 1 for 1 from 3. It's early, 8-3. Penn State over Clemson. USC women and UCLA 2-2. A couple of minutes into the first quarter, Boston did start, and Kiera Fletcher has the Gamecocks bucket at this point.
Which, if you're watching on television, just came through. That's amazing how fast you guys are in front of the actual TV broadcast.
Yeah, the stream. Are you on a
weird.
stream?
Yeah.
Or are you watching a
No,
stream?
I'm watching straight off cable.
Oh.
The live stats are that far ahead
Yeah.
of the SEC network.
Yeah.
And by the way, give you a point of comparison if you're looking for something to figure out how good Penn State men's basketball is. They beat Colorado State by 12. That's the same Colorado State team that humiliated South Carolina, who beat Clemson. So, by transient properties, there you go.
Penn State's, here's a John Rothstein stat. Penn State's top 5 scorers are all shooting 40% or better from three-point range. 2 grad transfers. Wow. Andrew Funk, I love that, and Cam Winter are averaging combined 20 points per game, making 29 three-point shots in 7 games. Andrew Funk. Are you in a funk?
He's got to lead the nation with that kind of shooting. That's incredible.
Yeah, possibly so. Okay, shall we get back to the phones? 888-898-2525. Some Dabo Sweeney coming up in a little bit. We head to, let's see. I think we need to update our list there, Pat, because I think Kevin and Easley was our last call, right? That's the last thing I see on the sheet here. So if you want to go ahead and introduce the call, we'll be happy to do it that way.
Yeah, so first up, we've got, making a repeat appearance tonight, sure he's got more to crow about, Gamecock Larry from over in Swansea.
Gee, what a surprise. Gamecock Larry.
Oh, Mr. Phil, you don't know why, your Lord, how all you Clemson fans, all of you blaming your coach, blaming this, drop
That's right.
passer.
That's right. Far be it for a Gamecock fan to ever blame a coach after a loss, but go ahead.
Boy, I'm telling you, poor old Sweeney, he sound like Sweeney, like this. Well, I ain't gonna call her name because he's gone. But you know what I'm talking about, boy. You talking about we gave them the game. We should have beat them. Shoulda, coulda, woulda, but you didn't do it. We should have beat them Clemson Tigers by, I say, 24 points. We could have beat them by 24 points. How about Shipley got so many yards in the first quarter? Shipley was getting pinned down in the second quarter when he did run. So don't say that. But I'm telling you, just listen to all of them cry. Even got some of the players they say was pushing each other on the sideline. Oh, boy, old Gamecocks got under that Tiger skin. And old Gamecock Larry is enjoying it. I did not even listen to my radio with the latest playing tonight because I wanted to listen to you. Clifton fans just crying.
You made a wise choice in entertainment tonight, let me tell you.
Wow, what's wrong? Okay,
No, you made a wise choice in picking this show over everything else. You made a wise choice.
Okay, but Mr. Phil, another thing. Now, you got the old boy kind of upset. I've been saying this ever since Tennessee beat Alabama. Tennessee didn't beat Alabama. Alabama didn't lose the game. Them people in the striped shirt gave that game to Tennessee. There was no way in the world that was pass interference on that interception. And you know it. Everybody else know it. But it just like them Clemson fans. They got to give Tennessee, they give it to them. But I'm going to let you go. But, oh, Lord, I'm having fun listening to that guy from up there cooking out at Greenwood Lake or Greenville Lake.
Lake Greenwood. Yeah, that's Tiger Bryan. Tiger Bryan.
Up there cooking out. Boy, I tell you what, you would like to have a Gamecock on that grill or so that fish, wouldn't you? But you ain't got one. Go Gamecocks. I don't forgot the days I got, but y'all beat us 7.
What you forgot?
Y'all beat us 7 games in a row. Well, we beat y'all 5 games in a row. So that means we got 1 down and we got 1 more to go, and then we're gonna go on an 8-game winning streak and hope to go. Old Gamecock Larry probably won't be here. But he'll sure be laughing all the way. He'll be laughing as long as he's on this earth.
You're not going anywhere. You keep drinking that Geritol and whatever you're chasing it with. You're going to be here a long time, my friend. Thank you for the call. Selection committee rankings are out. NC State 25, Mississippi State 24, North Carolina 23, UCF 22. Notre Dame 21, Texas 20. Oh, look at who's at number 19.
Yeah.
Larry's Gamecocks. Larry, you're listening? Gamecocks are 19 in the ranking. Then Tulane at 18, UCLA 17, Oregon 16, Oregon State 15, LSU way down at 14. Then Florida State 13, Washington 12, Utah 11, Kansas State 10. Clemson is now number 9. Number 8 is Penn State. Number 7 is Tennessee. Number 6 is Alabama. And now I'm waiting for 5. Well, I guess they're going to do the top 4 and then 5. Have we got those?
5 is Ohio State.
Oh, there I was wrong. Ohio State is 5. Alabama is 6. So Ohio State wasn't punished. I mean, I would have thought they'd have been dropped. They got beat pretty badly at home, didn't they?
Well, neither was Clemson, quite frankly. I think that's some respect for USC from the standpoint that Clemson only fell 1 spot after losing at home to an unranked team.
Ohio State is 5. Southern Cal is now 4. Southern Cal's 4. Ohio State's 5. So, I mean, they've left it where somebody loses in the top 4 this weekend. Ohio State gets the promotion, right? In all likelihood, there's no reason to move Alabama above them with 2 losses. They're not playing anybody. Ohio State's not playing anybody this weekend.
Yeah, that's why you had to get to 5th if you're not playing this weekend. If you're Alabama,
yeah. So that's the one. That'll be the one they're looking at. So Southern Cal 4, I imagine TCU will be 3, Michigan 2, and Georgia 1. Is that how it's come out?
That's correct. Yep.
They have released that?
Yep.
Okay. All right, we'll continue with the calls. Let me update the basketball. USC women up on the UCLan women 9-8. And let's see. We got everybody's got Cook's got 3 to lead the Gamecocks. Clemson back in it with Penn State 14-11, 8 minutes in. And Galloway's got 5. Hemingway has got 6 for the Tigers. College of Charleston has jumped out all over Old Dominion, playing down there in Charleston, 12-0. Cougars open up that game. Furman.
Pat Kelsey's got a really good basketball team.
Yeah. And Furman has an early lead on Appalachian State. It is 26-14. 26-14. Furman leading Happy with 2:42 to go in the first half.
And by the way, you were chatting about Penn State and all the 40% three-point shooters they have. As a matter of fact, they're 9th nationally as a team in that category, shooting over 40% as a squad.
Okay, we go.
That's exceptionally good.
That is good. All right, let's go to Jimmy in Simpsonville. Jimmy, welcome to Sports Talk. How are you?
Good. You're my birthday.
This is your birthday?
Yeah, 62 years young.
Well, happy birthday.
And I got
Welcome to the club.
I got an early birthday present by the Gamecocks beating those Tigers.
Could you have asked, as a Gamecock fan, could you have asked for any better present?
No. That's the best present I could ever receive on my birthday. So the reason I called is I heard you say that Dabo said the loss to South Carolina was unacceptable. What I find unacceptable, if I was a Tigers fan, was letting a second-year coach in Shane Beamer out-coach the great Dabo Swinney, because he did that. He had more, I don't know if I can say this, more balls than Dabo did by making those 2 big play calls on that 4th and 1 on their own 34, making that great pass to Juju Schuster. And then that 4th and goal where we threw the touchdown to Juice Wells in the back of the end zone. Then Nate Atkins made a spectacular one-hand catch that I don't know if I've ever seen anything like it.
Mm-hmm.
And then Nate turned around and exceeded that catch by knocking out the ball on that punt return to cinch the game for the Gamecocks.
All of the above is true. Are you a Steelers fan?
No.
Because you
Carolina
said Juju.
fan.
You said Juju Schuster.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out who
sorry.
that was.
You mean Juju McDowell? Doesn't Juju Schuster play for the Steelers or used to?
I know.
He's with the Chiefs now.
Oh, okay. I can't keep up.
Thing.
Yeah, we understand. We got you. No, you're all good, and all your points are right on. Yes, sir. Right on.
Yeah, it's like, and our guys just outperformed and executed the Clemson Tigers. And maybe that's what he thinks is unacceptable because they're supposed to be a better team. But you know what? The Gamecocks, it's just like Shane Beamer said, the last 2 games of the season were like our college football playoff. I have been watching Gamecocks football. I've been watching football for over 50 years. I have never seen anything like that 63-38 shellacking that we gave to Tennessee.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think the Gamecocks have arrived?
Yes. I mean, they were inconsistent this year. I don't know what happened in the Missouri and the Florida game. It's like they had our playbook. Also, the Georgia game, we just couldn't do anything on offense. So I don't know what happened in those games. But other than that, we beat Texas A&M. We beat Kentucky. We've never beat Texas A&M. Kentucky's had our number for the last 7 or 8 years. I had hoped we were going to be 9-3, and if we had beat Missouri like we should have at home, we would have been 9-3 like I predicted at the start of the season.
Very good. Good call. Thank you very much. We appreciate you. You take care. Call us again. 888-898-2525 is the number. Got to hit the break. We'll come back with more of your phone calls. Our poll question of the week, the biggest factor in the Gamecocks win, 40.6%, point to the winning the field position. 25.9% forcing turnovers, 18.4, it was just their time. 15.2, offensive play calling, 468 votes in. You can vote on our Twitter page at SportsTalkSC. Penn State up 15-11. UCLA up 12-9. As we hit the break, we'll come back with more calls and Dabo Swinney around the corner as well. But back to the phones when we come back from this break. Don't go away.
When your day calls for some winning, why not watch your favorite football team at Dave & Buster's? We've got massive HD TVs and hundreds of the hottest new games. Sip from our chef-crafted cocktail menu with exclusive drinks such as the Strawberry Watermelon Margarita or Dangerous Waters. Cheer on the team with Cantina Nachos or wings featuring one of our 12 wing flavors. When your day calls for some winning, it's time for Dave & Buster's, where you can watch the games and play the games. Locations in Greenville, Columbia, and Myrtle Beach.
Your home is where your memories live. It's where you laugh and where you love. We understand the importance of the valuables under your roof, tangible and intangible alike. So no matter what's around the corner, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for nearly 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise. Learn more at scfbins.com.
Call me, Alex Satterfield, at 803-749-9171 for all of your Midlands insurance needs.
South Carolina's taste buds have spoken, and they're asking for beef. There are more than 7,800 farms raising cattle from pasture to plate in the Palmetto State. So whether it's steaks on the grill before the big game, sirloin medallions plated for date night, or burgers with a family, make sure beef is a part of your playbook this football season. Smoked, grilled, and slow roasted. Find the best way to enjoy your beef at scattle.org. Beef, it's what's for dinner in South Carolina. Funded by the South Carolina Beef Council, part of the Beef Checkoff program.
Life, it has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit playresponsiblysc.com.
I got to say this. I usually going up to Clemson is just drive up for the press conference, come up the back way around the golf course, and then go back 76 right out to the interstate and get on back. But just to break the monotony of the trip, I went out through campus, went out 123. But I was just telling Pat, man, I hadn't been on that side of Clemson's campus in a long time. I couldn't believe what they have built. Have you been over there, Chris?
I have not. It's been a long time.
Oh, the business school, humongous and gorgeous. The building, the architecture, that whole side of campus, Pat, I know you've seen it more than I have. And it looks like a combination of academic buildings and apartments or condos or something, student living, student housing. That used to be, way back in the day. You had the Clemson House over there, which is where we used to do the press conferences with Danny Ford. Now, those were fun press conferences. Those really were. We would go. It was done. The electronic media was done outside, and Mr. Bob Bradley ran it. And you had three stations. You had the TV group, and Danny would do he would do question and answers with the TV guys. Then he would do the radio guys. Which really? Usually, he'd do radio separately, which usually it was me and Bob Schuster, and Bob Juback was in radio back at the time. Maybe Mick Mixon was with us. So we had a radio group, we had a TV group. Then we'd go inside and have lunch inside the Clemson House and sit around this big table, and the writers would sit there, and there were probably 15, 20 writers from the newspapers, and then they would ask Danny questions and do the press conference that way. So much more personable.
Very cool. Yeah.
So much more personable than It is not even close to today. Is so industrial. Back then, it was very personable. Really liked it. But Pat, that side of campus is just gorgeous. The things they built over there.
It is. It's hardly recognizable I mean, it's been a little while since I graduated, but every time I go up, it becomes less and less recognizable to the 4 years I spent up there. So many of the older student housing complexes have been torn down and either rebuilt with newer, fancier homes, which we see here in Columbia as well, go up and down, whether through the Vista area, around the Greek Village, or even now out right around the stadium. I didn't even know there's a brand new apartment complex on Shop Road now. I had to go to the DMV the other day and drove right by it. It's very attractive. But yeah, Clemson, over where what used to be Clemson House, they've added both student living as well as new academic centers. Everything is very, very fancy, and I just can't help but think I don't know if I could have afforded to go there.
Well, their on-campus population has exploded too, just like USC's. One quick funny story about our days at the Russell House. So, the beautiful thing about the Danny Ford era.
At the Russell House.
Did I say Russell House?
Russell House?
The Clemson House. I'm sorry.
Clemson House.
Yeah, the Clemson House. One of the beautiful things about the Danny Ford era, of course, all the controversies, all the NCAA investigations, all the accusations, all the fighting with other ACC coaches. And so there was a reporter from the Anderson paper named Al Muskowitz. And, of course, back then, reporters were reporters. They weren't buddies with the people they were covering. They were there to do a job, and they weren't afraid to ask tough questions. And Al was from Philadelphia. And,
wow.
Yeah, so that tells you right there.
used to asking tough questions.
Oh, yeah, and a hard-nosed sports guy. And so this particular press conference was during the time when Clemson was under investigation for something or another. I can't remember. And he started asking Danny questions about something with, I think it was Georgia maybe. There were some accusations being made towards Danny and towards Clemson. He's asking Ford questions. Ford finally got so fed up, he goes, "You ain't from around here, are you, boy?" Because it was Al's first year on the beat. It might have been his first press conference even. He goes, "You ain't from around here, are you, boy?" He goes, "No." He goes, "Well," Danny said, "we don't run my press conferences this way. When I say I don't have an answer, that's it. We're done with that question. Move on to something else." And kind of back then, I just sort of, kind of slid to the background, tried to stay out of the way of the fire, out of the way of the bullets. All right, let's get back to the phone calls, 888-898-2525. Albert in Charleston, welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes,
First time
sir.
caller.
Hey, it's great to have you.
Appreciate your show. Just want to make some quick comments. I'm a diehard Clemson fan.
Okay.
I've been a Clemson fan growing up, playing Little League football with Danny Ford. Just loved Clemson. But I really enjoyed the game on Saturday, and congratulations to the Gamecocks. They deserve it. I believe that the Gamecocks had better athletes at the receiver position than Clemson did. And also with the quarterback, DJ, he's taken criticism all year long. But it's more than just the quarterback play. It is the receivers. They cannot get separation at all. And so my question is with Dabble, I believe also that he has to change his philosophy in regards to going in to transfer and accepting transfers from other schools. And I know that he's a high character guy, but I believe he can go and get high character guys that can help your program also. So I think you have several different problems, but going on with the Clemson football team. But they're Clemson. They played well. Gamecocks played well, and it was just a good game. So that's all I want to say. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you. And you know what? I want to echo that because after sitting through the 7-year reign of Clemson, and really, people might want to say that the shootout at Clemson, what was it, 50-something, 30-something, was a good game. Right. And I mean, it had some exciting plays, but it wasn't a contest. Clemson could have scored 100 that day. If they had time, they'd have scored 100. And South Carolina might have scored
70,
60. Yeah. I mean, both offenses were just going up and down the field. Both defenses played terribly. But South Carolina was never a threat to win that game.
Sure.
They had awesome numbers, and Jake Bentley, looked like Johnny Unitas out there throwing strikes, but they weren't going to win that game. This is the first one. Obviously, South Carolina won it, but it's the first game in a that's been competitive through that whole streak. And that was good to see some fourth quarter tension, a packed stadium that was still packed to the very end. I mean, fans didn't start leaving until the fumble at the very end. Otherwise, they were glued to their seats, and that was great.
Well, I feel like I mentioned
regardless
on
of which side of the fence you're on, you had to appreciate a good, close ball game.
And I loved Albert's point about that. Both teams played well. It's easy to look at all the things you did wrong. Each team turned it over. Carolina had 2 and Clemson had 3. So they weren't perfect, but each team played well enough to win. I mean, we're nitpicking the situations that found out the reason why South Carolina won and Clemson lost. But from a standpoint of the rivalry itself, Carolina breathed new life back into the rivalry. They needed to win that game just for guys like Albert and everybody else in the state who enjoy seeing that game on the Thanksgiving Saturday after the big holiday. It was huge for the Gamecocks.
By the way, that number 19 ranking for the Gamecocks, just checking, that's their highest ranking ever in the college football playoff ranking. Be back in a moment.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Cloudy skies with the low dipping to 53. Tomorrow, scattered showers, especially in the first half of the day. The high reaches 70. Clear out for Thursday and Friday, but a cold front rolls through, so high temps those days only reaching to the mid-50s. Lows into the lower 30s tomorrow and Thursday night. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
Right now, we all might feel a little disconnected. For seniors living alone with smaller social circles, feelings of loneliness and isolation can feel overwhelming. But there's something we can all do to help. Connect with your older loved one virtually and have the conversation of a lifetime with StoryCorps Connect. Anyone can conduct an interview, and every interview will be archived at the Library of Congress, becoming part of American history. Connect, honor, share at StoryCorpsConnect.org/AARP. A message from AARP, StoryCorps, and the Ad Council.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting. The Senate this evening passed legislation that would enshrine protections for same-sex marriage into law and repeal the Defense of Marriage Act, which defined marriage as a union solely between a man and a woman. In a 61-36 vote, 12 Republicans joined all Democrats in approving a bill that would ensure that the federal government recognizes same-sex marriage, even if a couple moves to a state that does not recognize same-sex marriage. A Walmart employee who survived the mass shooting at a store in Virginia has filed a $50 million lawsuit against the company. Employee Donya Priolo claims in her lawsuit that Walmart continued to employ the shooter who had known propensities for violence, threats, and strange behavior. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 3 points. The Nasdaq dropped 65. The S&P lower by 6. More details at srnnews.com.
Open enrollment. It can be a confusing, frustrating time, but it doesn't have to be. You're seeing celebs doing TV ads, billboards everywhere. You're inundated. At Medicare Blueprint, they help with Mom's Medicare plan. I called them, gave them the basics on Mom and her meds. They did everything else. Tim and his team do this full-time, year-round. If you call them, they talk to you. They take you through the whole process. Nothing outsourced. They do the work. A local number, a local guy. Medicare Blueprint doesn't work for the insurance companies. They work for you. Tim knows this industry. He's been advocating for people like us for a long time. Go to his website, MedicareBlueprint.com. Look at the testimonials from people all over the Midlands. If Tim can help you, he will. If he can't help you today and thinks you're already in a better plan than he can find for you, he'll tell you because it's the right thing to do. Next time around, you'll remember his honesty. You'll call him when you need his help again. MedicareBlueprint.com or give him a call, 803-708-7398. That's 708-7398 for Medicare Blueprint.
Hi, this is Chris Neely from the South Carolina Public Charter School District. Join me Monday afternoons at 5:30 as I team up with Kev for Kids First. We'll tackle the issues facing our schools, pointing out the positives with our students and teachers. Kids First, Mondays at 5:30 on The Point.
Hello, this is Stacy Huff, host of Huff Nation Sports Zone, each and every Saturday, 10 to 11 a.m. right here on 100.7 FM.
You may have even looked offering any kind of discount, except Lexington Discount Homes. Discount is their middle name. Quality homes that fit your budget with the size, model, and floor plan that your family needs. You can still afford your dream home at Lexington Discount Homes. Augusta Highway near Ballpark Road, 803-951-1900 or LexingtonDiscountHomes.com.
Jingle bells, shotgun shells. Your Christmas should always start at Shooter's Choice. Hey, I know you're wanting that new gun for Christmas. Time to get shopping for it right now at Shooter's Choice on Sunset Boulevard in West Columbia. Are you looking for a Benelli, Browning, Henry, Glock, Sig, Springfield, or Ruger, or maybe some other popular brand? Let the experienced staff at Shooter's Choice help you make the right decision for your perfect holiday gift. If it's hunting or personal concealed carry, or just that new gun you've been waiting for, with Shooter's Choice holiday season promotions, they've got you covered. In stock, on the shelf, ready for you to check out. Not catalog pictures or internet photos. You have the real deal to hold and compare. And if you're not sure what you may need for that special someone, make it simple with a gift card. You can't go wrong with that. So do your shopping locally at Shooter's Choice on Sunset Boulevard in West Columbia, or shop online at shooterschoicesc.com. Make your first choice, your best choice. Make it Shooter's Choice.
All right, Talking Tuesday and Dabo Swinney coming up in a moment. Let me update a couple of things. Penn State leading Clemson 23-21, 5:55 to play, opening half. And Hall's got 6. He's played 7 minutes, got 1 rebound. Hemingway's got 6. And Galloway's got 5 for the Tigers, who are shooting 38%. They're shooting 5 of 10 from 3, 0 for 1 from the line. Penn State, they've got Winter with 6, Pickett with 6. They're shooting 45%, 4 of 10 from 3, 1 of 3 from the line. Rebounds are even at 13 each. And turnovers, Tigers 5, Nittany Lions 3. USC women trailing UCLA 26-19, 4:52 to go in the first half. Gamecocks a paltry 29% from the floor to 52% for UCLA. Gamecocks are 1 of 9 from 3. UCLA is 2 of 4. And rebounding 17-15. UCLA is out rebounding South Carolina. Gamecocks do have 9 offensive boards, 6 second chance points, but getting outscored in the paint 14-12. And you've got Cook with 5. Nobody else has more than 2. I mean, several players have scored, but nobody else has more than 2. And Boston only has 2 points, 2 rebounds in 11 minutes.
And this is a UCLA team, Phil, that came in 188th nationally in terms of field goal percentage at 40%. And if you're the Gamecocks, you can't get out-rebounded. I mean, you just can't with that size. And you can't relying way too many threes. I get it. You pack it in when you play South Carolina. But Gamecocks can't continue shooting that many threes.
They are 0 for their last 9, no field goals, the last 450, Pat.
Just going to say, I hate to say it, but that makes me think Aaliyah Boston's ankle might not quite be as good as they're leading on. If they're getting out-rebounded, I'm suspecting that she's spending more time away outside of the paint than she is under the basket.
Yeah.
Update some
she's
others.
Played 11 minutes, though. I mean, she's in the game.
Yeah.
But you're right.
She is.
They're
Similar
pulling her away from the basket.
Yep, and Clemson's faced the same issue thus far on the men's side with PJ Hall. It seems as though he's been a little more reluctant thus far, understandably so, to kind of battle in the paint. He seems to be focusing more away from the basket. So that's led to them being out-rebounded in a majority of their games as well.
Update some others real quick. Furman, 35-23 over Appalachian. Charleston, 2013 over Old Dominion. NC State, 28-20 over Bill and Mary. Kentucky. Well, I'm on a first name basis with royalty because I've watched The Crown on Netflix. I feel like I'm close to the family. Kentucky 21-14 over Bellarmine. Winthrop playing Pat's alma mater, Toccoa Falls, 38-6. It's 38-6. 38-6. Presbyterian 29-18 over VMI. Maryland leading Louisville 28-17. South Carolina State leading East Carolina 27-20. Wow, that'd be huge. And there you go, up to date. Here is Dabo Swinney. He went about 37 minutes. Not going to play the whole thing, obviously, but here is a good taste of what he had to say today, trying to get over the loss to South Carolina, getting ready for the game against North Carolina.
Always great to walk in and have a Tuesday press conference this time of year, because that means we're still playing and everybody else is on the road. Well, actually, it's a dead period now. They changed that, so everybody's at home. Because nobody knows who they're playing or anything like that from a bowl standpoint. But we're still at it, and so again, that's a good thing. Obviously, disappointed with our regular season finish. But I'm really proud of our team and our staff for winning the division, the last ever Atlantic division. And at least, who knows, maybe it'll change again 20 years from now, but at least where we are today, and getting back to Charlotte, something that, to be able to get back there for the 7th time in the past 8 years it's special. It's really special, to have that type of consistency. Especially, the fact that we hadn't done it in 20 years, prior to 2011. So proud of these guys. It's not easy to do. They've earned it. And, also congratulations to North Carolina and Coach Brown. I mean, they've earned it as well. Both teams have earned the opportunity to go compete for the overall ACC title. And that's something that we all strive for. And for us, we've got 2 goals left. And, we're not going to hit all 5 of our goals this year, but if we hit 4 out of 5, we're going to have a great year for sure. So we got opportunity there, and again, great opportunity this week against a good football team. This is a team that has struggled early defensively and has gotten better as the year has gone along. They have really improved, as a unit defensively, and kind of figuring their personnel out. Had a lot of injuries. And some key players that were out. So again, some guys had to kind of step up, and I think they've gotten better as the year has gone on. You got some active guys. 25 is a really good edge player. 8 is very active inside. Good linebackers. I think 33 is a guy that really jumps out at you. Both safeties, very good players, and some of the best corners that we've seen. I know they've had a couple of guys injured. Don't really know what the status there is, but it's a defense, again, that really struggled early, but it's really improved. And then offensively, they're the best we've seen. I mean, by far. They really, really are very good, and they're consistent. Quarterback is a great football player. He's a guy that probably leading for the Heisman going into the Georgia Tech game. And, he that's probably his worst game. He just missed a few plays that he doesn't miss many. And he just missed some plays in that game. He's a very good player. That's why we recruited him. He's a winner. He's very accurate. He puts the ball where the guys have a chance to make a play, and just really impressive. Good backs. 21 and 28 are very good players. Took the opening snap against Georgia Tech to the house. 21 did, but the thing about Drake is he's got 35 touchdowns and 5 picks, so he takes care of the ball, but he's also the leading rusher on the team. So he's a very productive runner. They're not afraid to run him at all. He gets run a lot of yards on scrambles, but a lot of design runs too, especially quarterback draw. Good tempo team, a lot of shifts and motions. Pretty much an RPO built into everything they do. From a run game standpoint, do a lot of the similar things that we do from the run game standpoint. With a lot of motions and counters and the zone game as well. But a lot of RPO stuff, and then they got the best player we've seen, and that's number 11. I mean, he is a great football player. He will have his name called early. He's special. I mean, he's a I don't know if was he a junior or senior. I'm not sure what he is. What is he? He's a junior, so he's really good. He can catch everything. He's quick as a cat. He's got great football savvy, and they get him the ball, every which way. They'll use him in a lot of different ways. So you better know where he is, and it's not just him. 3's a very good player. 5's a very good player. They're tight ends. They got 3 tight ends that they kind of roll in there. So do a good job with the run game. Again, the RPOs and screens off of it, but a lot of shots downfield off the run game. And, really, really good group across the board and the way a championship game ought to be. So it's going to be a great, great week. Looks like it's going to be a good night up in Charlotte Saturday night. And excited about getting back on the field this week with these guys and seeing if we can get back on track this week and bring that trophy home.
Devil, everybody's disappointed Saturday, but have you seen what you wanted out of your guys these couple of days returning to work?
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't. They're off on Sunday, so I saw a few of them that were over here, but yesterday was a tough day. First day, kind of getting back with them, and that's just part of it. Mental Monday, right? You gotta reset, and you gotta own it and learn from it, and get everybody on the same page, and then you go back to work. That's what you do. So whether you come off a big win or a really disappointing loss, and tough day. It's always tough when you lose, but it's not acceptable for us. It's never going to be acceptable for us to lose that game. You got to deal with it, but it's not acceptable. And so you got to. It's been 9 years since we've had a meeting like that after that game. So nobody in this room has ever lost that game. So it's a tough day, but everybody responded the way you needed to, and go back to work. And went back, had a good practice last night, and on to the next one. And you better refocus quick because you turn on the tape and you start getting ready for the next opponent. And this is a really good team. It's a really good team. And again, it's 2 best teams in the league. We both earned the opportunity to be in this game, and there'll be one champion on Saturday night. And this is every time you play this time of year, they're handing out a trophy, right? So we gotta pick ourselves up and get back to work.
Yeah, but the lack of passing game execution you alluded to, what are the little things you would like to see cleaned up to maybe get that improvement?
Well, catch the ball. That's number one. We missed a couple throws. A big one to Antonio, wide open, and we miss it. Then you make the perfect throw, and we drop it. And those are plays that we made. And then, we had the one protection. So you just got to put it together. Hugh, if you know what you're looking at, we got to play to Brenny that's probably going to go 40 to 50 yards, maybe score if he breaks one tackle. And he's getting ready to throw the ball on time. And, Blake kind of opened up, turned the corner, and a guy hits him, and we don't cut the linebacker properly. And next thing you know, he's hit. And it's a play that never happens, right? So just we've got to capitalize, and we don't have that type of room for error right now. And so we got to capitalize on just the layups, the plays that are there. We got to do anything spectacular. We got to make the plays that are there. And we dropped 2 slants or first downs that are critical. And again, then we missed a couple plays, but we had 5 drops in the game. So you look up and you go, well, okay, that's where you are. So again, we had a lot of indicators for winning in that game. We hit just about every indicator that usually says we win, but we didn't win. So it's one of those outliers. So it's pretty easy to evaluate why we didn't win. Turnovers, missed plays, big plays, poor red zone defense. It's really simple.
This is Anna. It seems like Drake May is often most dangerous when he's throwing on the run. How do you limit that from happening? And then if it does happen, what is critical for the linebackers and secondary so that something doesn't hit downfield?
Yeah, well, you have to be multiple with him. First of all, you got to change your pitches up. But I think the biggest thing is you got to be very disciplined with your rush lanes. He's just very savvy in the pocket, and he'll step up, he'll slide, he'll spin out. You've seen him do all those things on tape. He is a very good thrower on the run. He's made some throws, going to his left, turning back, throwing across, same thing to the right. He's a very creative player, and he's a very confident and poised player. He's just very poised. So you got to try to keep him in the pocket the best you can. And so the number one thing you got to do is you got to win your matchup up front, but you got to have good rush lane integrity. And then, you've got to be able to, if he, especially if you're playing some man coverage, because he recognizes those things, and he will find a lane. He's their leading rusher. So he'll find a lane on you in a heartbeat and make you pay. So, and when you're playing zone, you've got to really do a good job with your eyes and getting to him if he does break contain somehow. So easier said than done. That's why he's a great player.
All right, Dabo Sweeney talking about Drake May, who will be facing North Carolina on Saturday night in Charlotte. We got recruiting coming up after the break. Squeeze in a couple of more calls, maybe. Do our best. Penn State leading Clemson late in the half, 35-29. And second quarter, 2:32 to play. UCLA leading South Carolina women 31-21. We've got also some more scores that we can update for you. We'll do that when we come back from the break. We'll tell you that Furman continues to lead Appalachian 46-38. Charleston over ODU 27-25.
Score a touchdown with Founders Federal Credit Union. With services like Founders Online and the Founders app, you'll enjoy all the perks of a big bank with local personalized service. Not a member? Joining Founders Federal Credit Union is easy. Visit relaxjoinfounders.com or one of our 37 convenient locations to see if you qualify for membership. Relax with Founders. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I love sports, and I've helped people for over 30 years. Contact me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com when the insurance company won't pay your claim or you have complicated issues. Some other business causes your business to lose money, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. When you lose a relative and find out you got cut out of a will or don't get what was promised. When you have serious injury, like from a wreck or mishap or on the job, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
We're with Major Billy Downer of DNR Major. It's always a good time for folks to remember to get those licenses renewed.
Doesn't matter what time of the year, it's always a season in, whether it's fishing or hunting. Make sure to check your licenses, make sure they're up to date. If you need a hunting or fishing license, you may go to www.dnr.sc.gov to purchase your license online or to any local licensed vendor in your local area.
And don't forget to join us for SC Wild from DNR with Major Billy Downer on Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
All right, give you recruiting tonight. Always brought to you by Seawells here on Sports Talk. Hope you're getting by for the daily luncheon buffet. They'll be added again tomorrow, 11 to 2. I might hit it up tomorrow or Thursday, one of these days this week. Going to get over there to chow down on some delicious Seawells food for a very reasonable price. And the next time I have a big event, like my next wedding, which will be next life, I'll have Seawells do the catering. You should do the same, Chris. Next time you have something big, maybe Finn's 10th birthday, you should have a big party and have Seawell do the catering. They are the best in the business. 1125 Rosewood Drive, or they'll come to your venue and help you put it all together. 803-771-7385 is the number. So checked in on USC 2024 quarterback commitment Dante Reno last night after Marcus Satterfield's departure to Nebraska. He said everything is cool with him. He's still firmly committed to South Carolina. No wavering. He committed to Shane Beamer and to the university, and that's where he wants to go. He did say it was a little crazy. He got a lot of texts from reporters and the like, and he said that he understands why Satterfield is moving on because he's very close to Matt Rule and going to run his offense out there. He said that nothing changes. I'm still their guy, 24 or 23 class, whatever they want to do. And he said that Beamer's going to hire a quarterback coach, offensive coordinator within the next couple of weeks after the bowl game. Says, I'm not too sure who's going to call plays in the bowl game. He didn't tell him that. He just said it would be like a collectively offensive game plan. He said, nothing changes for me. I'm still locked in with them. I was committed to play for Coach Beamer. Obviously, Satterfield recruited me. We had a really good relationship, but obviously Coach Beamer not leaving was still a huge thing. And he said, the Gamecocks, of course, one of the hottest offenses in the country the last 2 weeks, and he was impressed by what he's seen from them. He talks to Spencer Rattler all the time. He knows that Rattler is measuring his future plans, whether to return or go ahead and enter the draft. And they talk, he said, like almost every night. He also talks a lot to Luke Doty. So he did say if Rattler leaves, he and the family will get together and talk about things, and there's a possibility he could enroll for the 23 class if Rattler decides to depart. So that's the next chip to fall in this particular case.
I have a question about that, Phil. If he can make that kind of decision on the fly, then clearly he's ready to go. Why not just go ahead and make that decision and move now?
Well, I think
reclassify.
I can't speak for him. I'm just thinking out loud. He knows if he comes now, he'll be sitting behind Rattler and maybe others and not going to get any work. He can go play another year in the league he plays in, continues to get work and play, and then come, the next year when things open up.
He's clearly completed his coursework at his high school, right?
Correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he could do it. Offensive tackle Spencer Fano of Provo, Utah, made an official to Clemson over the weekend, and he told 24/7 Sports he's down to the Tigers, Michigan, Oregon, and Utah, and he'll announce December 6th. Wide receiver 2024 Bray Staley of Aiken was offered by NC State. He's very fast. Basketball 2025 6'3" Caleb Evans of Lexington is at Clemson tonight for the Penn State game, according to Jamie Shaw of On3 Sports. That's recruiting brought to you by Seawells. And let's see if we can hit up another call or two before the program ends here in a little bit. Let's go to Keith in Camden. Nope, sorry, not Keith in Camden. It's somebody else. Keith gave up on us. Can you believe that, Chris? Keith gave up on us. Next time he gives a sermon at his church. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are members of Keith's church, wherever that is, Camden, whatever, next time he starts to give a sermon, I want you to leave and just give up on him because he gave up on us. In the meantime, we'll go to Will in Greenville. Will, welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
Hey, Phil, great to hear your voice. I was going to say all this talking about how Clemson messed this up or messed that up or should have done this. I mean, they need to be counting their lucky stars it wasn't a blowout because besides two just awful passes by Rattler, I mean, we gave him 14 points. It could have easily gotten out of hand like the Tennessee game. Just ask Tennessee how easily it could have gotten out of hand. So, and they all say, oh, we should have ran the ball more. They tried. They ran the ball 9 times in the fourth quarter and got 12 yards. You can't run the ball when they're putting 8 in the box.
No, 3 times.
So,
they ran it 3 times in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. I mean, if we held the ball for 11 minutes, if they could have ran it in the fourth quarter, they would have.
Yeah.
It's just
let me give you the fourth quarter only again. They ran it 3 times for 4 yards. They threw it
12 yards. 4 yards a carry.
3 times for 12 yards. Is that what I said? 3 yards for 12 yards. 3 times for 12 yards.
They ran it on first
and
down.
they went 1 for 7 throwing the ball. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
They only had 10 plays in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm sorry. Go ahead, Will.
They had it for 3 minutes, didn't they? But
3:04. You're right. 3:04.
When you give the other team 14 points on their home field, I mean, they're lucky it wasn't a blowout. So I felt very confident. When it was 14-7, I felt like we were going to win it.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think this is the beginning of a streak for the Gamecocks or just a one out here? Or is this the beginning of a run
well,
for them?
I hope so. With NIL and how fast Beamer's been moving with that and how Clemson's been slow to move with it, I do think we have an advantage there that they're going to have to catch up. So hopefully it is the beginning of a streak. But, I like DJ. I think he's a good kid, and everybody forgets these are just kids out there. So I don't, yell about him or anything, but for their defensive line, for that front seven supposedly being one of the best in the country, I mean, how many times they touch our quarterback? Once, twice, the whole game?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can't place it all on DJ. I mean, our wide receivers were running free and nobody was touching our quarterback. And with that offensive line, the way they started out the season, that's just amazing, I think.
Well, they looked really good the last two games, and thank you for your phone call. I think they maybe got a little bit better, Chris, but also I think Rattler's play helped that offensive line. His mobility and his getting the ball out and throwing the ball decisively took a lot of pressure off that offensive line the last two games.
Well, they did a nice job of maneuvering him in the pocket, as you pointed out. The long touchdown pass that he threw to Juice Wells, I thought was the perfect example of that. Snapped it back to him. He scrambled out to his right. And Rattler's as good throwing on the run as any quarterback I've seen. I mean, he put that ball on the dime out to Wells. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think his mobility and his ability to throw on the move was a major factor in that game.
All right, Penn State 35-29 at the half, UCLA 31-27 at the half. Check out the website later for post-game coverage on both. Thank you, everybody. See you tomorrow night right here on Sports Talk.